this is an investigation into another MS362C. C meaning M-tronic or auto-tune, which I'm undecided about at the moment. Never can tell with things that have a mind of their own. So I've taken all the cases off so we can go straight into the investigation and there's no doolallying around. So first of all, let's have a look round here. This looks reasonably well blocked. Turn it and it pops off. Down in those corrugations you could see, especially the ones at the bottom, they're very blocked. Even the ones around the side have got a lot in there. So it hasn't been cleaned for a long time. And there's a lot of muck inside here. Just see whether we're in shot. Yes, we are. And all over the carb there's lots of muck. So that's not going to let a lot of air through. And also inside, look at that. So that wants a good blasting with the airline and then washing with hot soapy water. That is absolutely appalling. Yeah, no wonder the poor thing wasn't working correctly. Alright, let's see what else is the site of problems. Put that back on for the moment. So let's just have a look at the spark plug now. Just pop the cap off. Alright, that's interesting. The ferrule has been eroded away. So this cap obviously wants cleaning out and maybe crimping up a bit. Before we take the plug out, let's just have a look at that. There, see? It's been vibrating in the cap. It's been eroding away. So I've been losing the spark there. That's probably the threads. Maybe not, just right on the edge of the threads. Anyway, let's take the plug out. So yes, you can see it's still the ferrule, but it's worn right down to where the threads start. Right, let's take the plug out then. The porcelain is filthy and it's got muck all the way down the side, so that's be a good way for the spark to track. And the electrodes are not bad, sort of light browny sort of colour. Not oily or anything, which is surprising considering the air filter was so blocked. Maybe that auto tune has been doing something there. And whilst we're there, we've got broken fins. There's 2 broken fins on the top of this cylinder. So it's obviously had some abuse, and then down the side there's another chip out of it there. But the 2 top ones above the exhaust are smashed right off. So let's have a look at the clutch. That is, 3/16 or 1/4 of an inch of rock, which is appalling, absolutely appalling. You will definitely get a ting 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 noise as the saw is ticking over and the clutch is trying to engage. You will definitely also get chain creep. Obviously this bearing hasn't been greased for a long time, so maybe the crank will be worn. Definitely the hole in the clutch drum, the drilling in the clutch drum to take the bearing will be worn. And I was assessing somebody a month, 6 weeks ago, and they said, oh yeah, religiously I grease my bearing in the clutch, but it wears out very rapidly. And his mate said, yeah, that's because you leave it ticking over on the floor all the time. Which is entirely correct, because if you leave this saw ticking over, then this poor little bearing's doing 1,000 revs. And yeah, the only grease it gets is the grease you put on it, because chain oil doesn't get to it. And so you can grease the bearing quite well, but if you leave it ticking over for 5 minutes here and 4 minutes there, then it will wear out. One of the best ways to reduce your environmental impact from using a chainsaw is 1. Keep it sharp, 2. Switch it off. Right, so we're going to have this apart. So we'll just get that circlip out, and the cloth has caught it, which is good. Off with the washer and off with the rim sprocket. Bit of wear on that rim sprocket, and we've got all sorts of assorted muck there, which may or may not be chainsaw trousers. And the bearing is very dry and rocking about. All 3 springs are intact. Quite a lot of muck round there though. So we just need to clean round the back of the chain brake band down here, because muck can get in there and hold the chain brake back. And all round here. Give it a good blowout with the airline. Now then, that looks like chainsaw trouser to me, which doesn't bode well. Right, let's have a look at the bore of this. So that's we're on millimeters, and that's zeroed out, and that is 16.02. I don't know whether we can get from that side. We can't. So we can only get from this side. Right. 16.36. 16.37. Yeah, okay, 16.37. And the bearing, when it's on the shaft, across 2 bearings, is 15.94. Try it on a different one. 15.97. And the shaft is 9.93 there, and up near here it's 9.95. That, and down the bottom it's 9.86. 9.93, 9.86. So basically the shaft is tapered. Okay, so there's a bit of shaft wear in the shaft. I'm suspecting there's some wear in this, and probably in the bearing. I'm going to find some other bits and see how we get on. Right, I've taken the clutch drum, etc. off that other 362, the one with the Duff main bearings. Zero that out. And this is 1614. That's bigger. And the bearing on the shaft, didn't we? Let's put it on the shaft. And a crosser roller on the shaft. 16.26. So we're better off with this set than that other set. So I'll put that together with some grease on there, because you've got to grease it frequently. I've cleaned this out with an airline. I'm just looking down to see whether I can see the oil pump drive quill, and I can. But it might be sensible just to have this clutch off, just to see if the worm gear and everything is in good order. I'm just going to do that off camera. So I've undone that. It was very tight. And there's the pump guard with the dish outwards. Yeah. And there's the oil pump worm, and the threads seem alright, and the end of the, I call it a quill, or the little drive dog, it's fine. So we're happy with that. We just need to blow out all the muck from round here and then put it back together. So that's the clutch back on and the bearing with some grease. And I've just cleaned on the inside of here where all the muck builds up, just in that little bit there. And then I've positioned the drive quill about here, and on these there's a little line just on there which tells you where the notch is, so you can just pop it back together in line. But you should better spin it a bit and it will just knock like that. Anyway, I'm just going to do that. So there's the drive quill, and there's the notch, and the bearings there, and all the muck's been removed. So that should just go there. Right, and you can see down that little window if it's engaged. And then sprocket, that's the good one. And there are no ventilation holes in this, so it doesn't matter which way round it goes. And the washer. And then put the circlip back on. And if you remember from some of my other videos, you use the combi spanner like that. That way the circlip doesn't go flying off into the far corners of the workshop or a shrubbery or the woodland where you're working. Everything seems fairly alright. And let's see now. How much rock have we got on this now? Still a bit, because the end of the crank's worn, but nowhere near as much. So the bearing's greased, the clutch seems alright, and the oil pump drive seems fine. The starter side seems alright, I've blown it out, but I'll have to pay attention to the spark plug and the plug cap and give that air filter a thoroughly good clean, because it hasn't had one for a long time. And then we'll see how it goes. But that's as far as I can go with this video. Cheers for now.